Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, I'm answering a question that I get asked a lot on stream, in the comment section, so forth and so on. And that question is, Sealord, what is the best premium ship in this game? And, well, like I've said in previous videos, it's not really what ship you have, it's what's your experience in the game, what do you like to play, what are you good at playing, and how do you like to play? You have to answer those questions, and then you can move on to what premium ship is right for you. There's premiums of this game that are without a shadow of the doubt and accepted by most of the community to be some of the best premium ships in the game, but if you don't fit their playstyle, you're not going to do well in them. So from that point of view, I would say, well, go do research on, like, what ships would fit your playstyle and such. But from the general question of what is the best premium ship in the game, in my opinion, well, that is the Tier 8 Premium American Battleship, the Massachusetts. Why? We'll get into that in a second, and also talk about how she performs in today's world of warships. But guys, if you do find yourself enjoying this video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment before you click off of it. It greatly helps out on the YouTube side of things. So, the Massachusetts. When I consider the answer to this question, I think about what ship do I enjoy playing the most, and is a pretty decent premium ship to boot, so it does premium ship things as well. So, premium ship things. What are premium ship things? Let's start there. Well, a premium ship has a few bonuses going for it. First off, of course, they have a premium economy. They, of course, get the premium booster that is offered up to any ship in the game. That's the one you can buy, import, and screen. The other bonus that they have is a baked-in economic bonus, which is not shown up in port. It's just a baked-in bonus that the ship has. So when the game calculates the economy of the ship at the end of the match, it has those bonuses applied to it. And the Massachusetts is a Tier 8 ship, so it's in a pretty advantageous position when it comes to, well, printing credits. Why do I say that in regards to Tier 8 ships? Well, one of the big bonuses to this economy currently is that when you do damage to a ship that's a higher tier than the one that you're currently playing, you get a bit of an economic bonus because of that, because you're damaging a ship that has, well, outright advantages over you. You get a bonus for that. So she'll see Tier 9 ships, and she'll see Tier 10 ships. Those are ships that, of course, hurt a lot, but with the Massachusetts and her abilities and her characteristics, she's able to honestly deal with them pretty darn well for a Tier 8 ship. So when it comes to dealing damage to those Tier 10 ships, she's pretty decent at it, and you can easily get quite a bit of income from that. The other part of the premium ship is the fact that you can move commanders onto and off of them free of charge. Now, of course, after the commander rework, that's not as important as it used to be, but considering the sheer amount of premium ships out there in the American tech tree, like, people think there's, like, Soviet bias in this game. Fellas, take a look at the amount of premiums that the Americans have. There's a lot, and most of them are quite good. So, if you're likely to purchase a Massachusetts when she does come up for sale, there's a good chance you're probably an enjoyer of the American tech tree, and you'll have quite a few premiums that you can shuffle your commander onto and off of the Massachusetts. Massachusetts is also the unofficial start of the unofficial, well, it used to be the unofficial second branch of American battleships, but then they made an actual second branch of American battleships. Then they made an actual third branch of American battleships. So I guess she's the start of the unofficial fourth branch of American battleships, which would be the Massachusetts, the Georgia, and then the Ohio, the secondary American battleship line. So she's a start there, and if you're lucky enough to have the Georgia and the Ohio, well, you have the fourth branch of American battleships until, well, they make an actual fourth branch of the American battleships. With the way that they're going, that's likely to be within a patch or two. But yes, she is the first secondary American battleship, and that's a nice transition into her actual characteristics. So what is this ship? If you've never seen her or you haven't had a chance to look at her in the store when she's out for sale for Black Friday, this is actually an Alabama. The Massachusetts that we have is one of the test versions of the Alabama. The Alabama was the first American Tier 8 premium battleship in the game. And when they test ships, if you take a look at the dev blogs and such now, they'll normally test 1, 2, sometimes 3 variants of the same ship under different names. So like we had the Vermont, and then we had the Connecticut. The Connecticut was kind of tooled a little bit different than the Vermont. Her acceleration, deceleration was a little bit different. She used slightly different shell types, and she had a different heel as well. And then now with the Vermont, not that long ago, she actually got in a lot of those characteristics from the Connecticut shifted over to her. So things like that. And the Massachusetts was one of those for the Alabama. However, the Massachusetts proved to be so popular in testing that instead of just shelving her after they decided to go with the original version of the Alabama, which is the version that we have as the Alabama, they released the Massachusetts sometime later as, well, the Massachusetts. So she is more of a secondary brawling-focused American battleship. She has an improved cooldown time on her heel, the nice American damage con, secondaries that can get out to 11.3 kilometers, and worse Sigma on her guns than the Alabama. And the Alabama, if you've never played her, she is like a notch or two below the North Carolina. The North Carolina, her guns are very comfortable. They have 2.1 Sigma, so they have some nice, consistent dispersion on those guns. Couple that with the American battleship dispersion. The Massachusetts has 1.7 Sigma. So much lower Sigma, but she still has the American battleship dispersion, so her dispersion isn't as terrible as it might sound. But granted, sometimes you do get some salvos, like I'm sure you'll be seeing in the background footage, and they do kind of go all over the place. But these are 16-inch American guns with the super heavy American AP, which means that these shells hit quite a bit harder than other 16-inch shells do, which is always wonderful when cruisers slip up or battleships slip up and show you broadside, and you sling 9 of these guns at them. Yeah, they're going to feel that if the shells connect. Which Massachusetts, for the battleships that have the bad dispersion, the bad Sigma, quote unquote, she's actually one of the more consistent ones because, again, thanks to that American battleship dispersion. So on top of those main battery guns, you also get the secondary guns. And unlike the North Carolina and the Alabama, despite you having quite a number of the 5-inch American secondaries on each side of your superstructure, their range is of course limited. The Massachusetts is not. Her 10 5-inch guns per side, like I said, can get out to 11.3 kilometers, and they are still quite a bit more accurate than other secondary guns. Now, granted, they're not as good as they used to be. Man, these secondaries, y'all, back in the day, these were lasers. No DD dare approach a Massachusetts, a Georgia, or an Ohio, because they were going to get shredded. Now, with the new secondary mechanics, where it takes time for the accuracy to spool up, yeah, they're not quite the lasers that they used to be. But when they do get spooled up, they are quite accurate, and you will see some of that action in the background. And they're still capable of dealing with destroyers fairly well once they do spool up. It just takes a second to do that, obviously. So, 45 seconds to be exact. Now, with the secondary guns, they are 5-inch secondaries, 127mm guns, and they don't have any type of improved pins like the Germans. The Germans with their improved pins, their 127s, well, 128s in the Germans' case, can pin 32mm of armor. The 127s of the Massachusetts can only pin 21mm of armor. So you might think, oh, so you got to take IFHE with it. Well, not too much, not so much. So with the accuracy of the secondaries, again, once they do get spooled up, they have a 5% fire chance on top of a 3.4 second reload time with a full build. So they will be throwing a lot of shells downrange. Especially once, you take Adrenaline Rush into account as well, that really starts to crank it down. And given that you have the improved cooldown time on the heel, you can pretty comfortably ride Adrenaline Rush, because her heel does have a 30-second repair time. That is really fast. That is really freaking fast. That's like literally one cycle of the guns. You fire the guns and you pop the heel at the same time, the guns will get reloaded and the heel will be off cooldown. So, yeah, really comfortable ship to ride adrenaline rush in. So with that taken into account, still today, I'd say, with how accurate the guns are, with the sheer amount of shells they're going to be firing downrange, you can get away with not running IFHE. Now, if you want to run IFHE and pin 27 millimeters of armor, be my guest. It's your Massachusetts. Build it how you want it. This is just how I build mine, and it's always worked quite well for me. Now, granted, too, with the decreased accuracy, that also kind of helps because the shells will be hitting a superstructure a lot more than they used to, so there is that to consider. Not to mention, the ship itself is also fairly tanky. Because of the armor layout, you're not really going to be getting citadeled in it unless you get, some oddball long-range shot or some weird geometric madness going on there. So there is that to consider as well, on top of having that heal. It's a pretty tanky ship. Now, of course, it's not like German battleship levels of tanky, but it is tankier than most, I find at least. And she has a 46% torpedo damage reduction as well, so you can actually eat a fair few torpedoes in this thing and be fine. AA, she is pretty decent when she comes to AA. She's like a little bit below the Alabama. The Alabama has a more modern, well, not modern, I should say, a more late war AA setup. The Massachusetts has a couple of 20 millimeter, that is the correct term. Sorry, American trying to pronounce millimeter. She has a couple more 20 millimeters than the Alabama has, and in place of those 20 millimeters on the Alabama, she has 40 millimeters, those sweet Bofors. So a little bit less than the Alabama, but still quite good. But of course, with the way CVs are today, that can mean absolutely nothing with the skill of the CV player taken into account. So just like the Alabama 2, she's pretty slow at 28 knots. And you might be thinking, well, 28 knots is pretty slow for a brawler. Yes and no. I've never really had trouble getting into a brawling situation with the Massachusetts. And even when you get into those situations, she is still quite maneuverable too. She's not, like a GK that takes 5 ever to turn or anything like that. So how does she do in today's world of warships? Well, so you can only really pick the ship up currently in one event. That is the Black Friday event. When Black Friday rolls around, she's available as the Massachusetts B. Exact same ship. The only difference is the Massachusetts B comes with a really cool camo that looks really sleek and nice. That's the only difference. Exactly the same ship. Otherwise, if you don't like that camo, you can just, of course, just swap it out with any other camo, because camos literally do nothing nowadays. So, is she worth picking up? I would say, yeah, she is. Is she super amazing like she used to be back in the day? No, of course, with the way that the game has devolved, she's not quite that good, but she's still a lot of fun. I didn't have any problems doing well in this ship, well over 100 and I think 10,000 damage in the handful of games that I played trying to get background footage for this video. Now, of course, they didn't really go all that well because, of course, high level gameplay just, one-sided teams. We love that. We do love that, this matchmaking nowadays. So, yeah, but the ship itself performed well. I made credits every time I took her out. I had fun. Even though, and I think the first match you watched, I found the CV, and then my dispersion decided that, you know what, we're just going to hit the bottle a little bit harder today, my gunners. And, yep. But, yeah, I still had fun, made credits. The ship did what it was supposed to do, and she still does what she does quite well. She's still a really tough ship, and a ship that, if you enjoy brawling, and if you've been playing the American battleships, it's a nice change of pace from the normal American battleship line, because the American battleship line is jack of all trades, master of none, but they do have really consistent dispersion. But if you just want to like W in an American battleship, this is of course one of the best ones to do that in, besides the Georgia or the Ohio. So she's still quite well in my opinion, and definitely worth picking up when Black Friday rolls around. Is she a credit printer? No, but she'll make you credits. Now, speaking of Black Friday, if you do want a credit printer when Black Friday comes around, the Jean Bar is definitely one that I would recommend over the Massachusetts. But if you just want a fun little American battleship with some secondary action going on that you can W every now and then with, it is definitely the Massachusetts. And like I said, the whole point of this video is me explaining why she is my favorite premium in the game, because at the end of the day, she's fun. And this is a video game. The primary reason for a video game existing for the user is to have fun. For wargaming, it's to make money. But for us, it's to have fun. Which, of course, that's questionable in some of today's matches. But anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on the Massachusetts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, have a wonderful weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.